Alright, how's it going, my magnificent sons of bitches? And I've decided to come back and do another one of these electoral map bullshitty things since it's coming up for the election, and since you've had a mild breakthrough with the media. And now, nobody at work was talking about this shit. In fact, I mentioned it to quite a few people at work, and they're like, oh, really? That happened? So apparently, in the mainstream media, as the narrative goes, is that Trump was convicted of something, which is confusing because nobody really understands exactly how this political system is actually supposed to work. We know it doesn't benefit the common man, but the legal recourse of everything that's in the State Department has just been collapsing, and it's been collapsing really at the end of the day. By 2016, the State Department was already on life support. All your mainstream pay-to-play media outlets were already well on their way to the grave by 2016, when the internet came in and essentially replaced them. Now, the internet had came in and replaced mainstream media probably in about 2013, 2014. You had guys come out like Alex Jones, stuff like that. Mind you, that you had the media and you had these digital shows before that. You know what I'm saying? In 2007, 2008 is whenever you started to have these social media platforms. But people didn't really invest in them for news or information. It was mostly fucking cat videos until people say, hey, you know what? This is a good outlet to go ahead and get out truth. You know what I'm saying? And whenever that started to happen, this is whenever I say that the apocalypse really started to kick into full gear, which is where we're at right now. So what you have going on right now is essentially this is the death. In fact, you can go ahead and consider was it yesterday, the 28th, today's the 30th, the 29th, as the official day that the media died. The State Department propaganda, Mockingbird media died. And the thing is that it's trying to somehow come here on the internet, on YouTube and these other platforms. They've got Rumble going on, and this is exactly why Trump doesn't mind going on a Tim Pool's show, going on all these shows. But it's really, at the end of the day, it's good, I guess, to a degree. And this is exactly why I'm like, with Ted Cruz and the video that I did, where I said that Ted Cruz, if he really wanted to go ahead and run an efficient campaign today, is to go ahead and pay for Colin Allred's ads to be on all the YouTube videos and be in the videos that are the movies and stuff that come on Tubi. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead and pay for that motherfucker to go ahead and interrupt videos and movies and shit. Because this is the deal, right? This is the new politics. This is the new way politics are done. For the right, all you have to do is allow the Democrats a platform to speak. We've already seen how this works. This is apparently a very, very effective campaign, as this is exactly what Trump did. Now, I don't give a shit what anybody will tell you. The sheer fact that for probably well over 7 years that the media ran negative campaign after negative campaign after negative campaign against Trump, for Trump to get the most votes in presidential history, that was a monumental thing. That was the changing of the guards. The media knew it. That's why they had to rig the election. That, oh yeah, Trump got more than any other presidential candidate in history, but Biden got more than the guy who got more votes than anybody in United States history for a presidential candidate. They understand that they've lost. It's already over. It was over in 2016 when you lost the first time. You could have salvaged the media to a degree. You could have salvaged the party to a degree. But now that's over. It's over. And so what you're seeing is the funeral of the left as a whole. Of any kind of leftist socialism. This is it. That was it. The Trump guilty verdict pretty much killed any kind of credibility. Now, I'm going to go ahead and do this map. I promise I'm going to go ahead and do this map. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can shrink this thing up a little bit, though. With that being said, you know, I've said this before, and I've said this multiple times. I think I've said it for, you know, I know I've said it in quite a few videos, at least for a couple of years. And that's the simple fact that the left is only like accumulating, and I'm being generous. Whenever I give you my numbers, I'm being generous here. So, the left has only accumulated since their January 6th debacle, since Joe Biden has gotten in. They've only managed to go ahead, well, they haven't even accumulated. They've only managed to keep about 2% of the population, as far as their effect, their opinions, people that follow them. People that are going to go ahead and religiously follow the left and are dead set going to vote Democrat, that's only 2%. So I figure at about 6 million, and how I've done this is I've accumulated the trends on Twitter for one, because believe it or not, regardless of the little echo chamber that Twitter is and how they do the back and forth battle between Republicans and Democrats, this is the only place that it really is still a thing, right? We just see the country as being fucked up and none of these people helping us whatsoever. But on Twitter, it's still the Republicans versus the Democrats. They're about, I'd say, 6 or 7 years behind everybody else, at least, if they're still in the whole paradigm of the left and right paradigm. You still have, you know, leftist media shills that'll still call people like me Russian agents or Russian bots or whatever. But, you know, and it's, you know, really, it's both the left and the right have kind of become a cliche at the end of the day. So with that being said, you know, the left only has about 2% of the port. These are the people that are going to actively go in and participate with the left, is what I'm talking about. Whenever I say that they only have 2%, this is what I'm talking about, is 2% actively supporting the Democrats. Most people are embarrassed to even call themselves a Democrat today. Just the landscape of everything today, you know, essentially the party is dead. You know what I'm saying? They could have, and if it would have been me, you know, I think that instead of running Joe Biden, which is just a poorer version of Obama, and I'll tell you exactly how the left lost and why the left lost in 2016 so bad. The Democrats can't figure it out. And it's because when they ran that Hillary Care, or what you call Affordable Health Care Act, Obamacare as most of you call it, it ended up hurting a lot of people. It ended up hurting a majority of the country. It ended up hurting approximately 193 million people. So when you're taking money from people like me who have to now pay a tax penalty because I don't have insurance and whatnot, this is the government assuming too much power. And so you hurt me with tax penalties, you hurt my friends, my bosses, everybody that from middle management all the way up to, you hurt all of them. Then you have the people like my parents who did have insurance, but their premiums go up, their co-pays go up, and all this other shit, to go ahead and subsidize 22 million people. People could have fucking told you that this wasn't a good strategy. The government is not good at marketing. There's actually probably a solution if you really wanted your universal health care. There's actually alternatives and solutions to get you that universal health care. However, the government isn't interested in that. They're interested in trying to accumulate as much power as they can right now in DC. They're national socialists. This is exactly what they are. But they'll call you a fascist, even though they don't understand what a fascist is. So, whenever they passed that Obamacare Act, right, well, this ended up giving the right something to work with. They actually handed the 2016 election to the right. It didn't matter who, they could have ran Biff fucking Tannen, and they still would have won. You know, because the left had screwed up so bad. So now, you know, they couldn't deal with that. Their ego. a Democrat will eat a yard of their own shit before they ever admit fault. And that's just the way that they operate. So, you know, we come to 2020, and they were embarrassed in 2016. This is where you get the election tampering from the Russians again. And this is where you get the biasness from here on YouTube and shit like that. All these social media accounts that kicked you off because of HR 81, because of HR 5181, this is why they did it. Is because they knew that they didn't have a platform, they didn't have any arguments. This is why they also, believe it or not, leftists, this is also why they went ahead and decided that they were going to go ahead and target that, overturn that Roe v. Wade. You know, ultimately, whenever you jumped on board with that fucking commie cough mandate, they were already setting it up to go ahead and overturn Roe v. Wade. Why? Because they need a position to fight for it. They don't have a position, they need to try to accumulate wealth. It wasn't about giving you universal health care, it was about giving you government-controlled health care, so government can go ahead and assume 1/6 of the fucking economy, and to go ahead and mandate some sort of tax regulations on you, to go ahead and, you know, control everybody's day-to-day lives, pretty much. It's what it was. It's what nationalist socialists are. So when they lost in 2016, they were embarrassed. They didn't get their Trans-Pacific Partnership. They're trying to still get that Trans-Pacific Partnership, but they were embarrassed. It was a shot across the bow. The Democrats should have reformed, but they didn't reform. Ultimately, what ended up happening is, you know, with Trump's victory, they should have ran somebody like Tulsi Gabbard, who had a more moderate position. Now, I do believe that Tulsi Gabbard could have ran a better campaign than Joe Biden or Hillary Clinton. I believe she would have, if Tulsi would have beat Donald Trump, I'd have said, okay, I can believe that. Because Tulsi was more of a pragmatist. She was more of a, and I'm not trying to praise because I don't really like Tulsi Gabbard, but with that being said, I can see the appeal for Tulsi Gabbard over a Hillary or a Joe Biden. But they didn't. They doubled down with the corruption. They doubled down with the fucking Obamacare shit. They went ahead, put in their guy, Joe Biden, so they can go ahead and pass. And they thought that, you know what, we'll just go ahead and accumulate a mega media monopoly and go after these motherfuckers. But it didn't work. So now you have all of this shit that they've been doing for probably well over 8 years now. It's been going on for 8 years for Donald Trump. And they still haven't figured out a way to beat him. And now you're coming up to where the Democrat Party is dead. It's dead. I don't even think that there's any way to revive it at any point in time. Any kind of real intelligence jumped off with the first set of intelligence went ahead and jumped off during the Bernie thing, after Bernie Sanders ended up getting screwed by, you know, the Democrat Party. And then the second wave, much more recently, as they seen the fucking Hindenburg or the Titanic sinking to the bottom of the ocean. So there's no real intelligence right now. All you have is state officials that are pretty much diversity hires, or they're a product of nepotism. And they don't have any experience of what they're doing. All they can do is go out, sulk and cry, and do a plea to emotion. That's all the Democrats have. They have no influence in their media right now because nobody's watching their fucking media. It's only 2% of the population. MAGA, on the other hand, MAGA had, and this is, like I said, this is from the algorithms. This is from watching the January 6 trials. This is from watching the trends on Twitter. This is looking at reactions on Facebook. And I'm, like I said, I'm giving them a lot because really it's about 4 million that I've seen, but I'm giving you 6 million out there. Quiet voters and stuff like that. It's only 2% of the population that the Democrats have as their base. And they're trying to pick a war with 25% of the population, which is the MAGA party. Anything that's going to be like a civil war right now is going to be closer to what happened in Nazi Germany with the Weimar Republic and the Nazi Party. With the Nazi Party having about 30% and them using the Weimar Party to go ahead and obtain power. And that's where we're at right now in the United States, only it's not the Nazi Party, it's the MAGA Party. It's the Make America Great Again Party, but it's It's similar circumstance. I'm not saying that ideology-wise they're the same. I don't believe that the MAGA party is in the same kind of as euthanasia type of experiments as the socialists were back in Germany, or today for that matter. Because essentially the Democrat Party is the remnants of the Nazi Party, and that's not even going to be discussed. They call everybody else a Nazi, but they sit on Nazi ideology. So, you know, they're closer to the eugenics programs than the MAGA party is right now. That doesn't mean that this shit can't change. I'm not sitting there promoting the MAGA party. I'm only telling you exactly where the country is from a perspective of somebody who lives in the country and understands exactly where the country is. And I'm going to tell you that they fucked up with that conviction. And the thing is that they're going to get all of their dead-ass, media outlets to start calling him convicted presidential nominee, and that's just going to make it even worse. So now you have that 2% of the country will not be able to defeat that 25%. But where they fucked up is that 63% of this country doesn't believe in the government whatsoever. We have an issue, myself included. I consider myself an anti-federalist. 25% or 63% of this country are just like done. They're just done with either side. You know what I'm saying? The federal government is the issue. You know, you going back and forth on these little Republican and Democrat paradigms, it's a waste of fucking time. And I guarantee it's about like 63% of the country. It's approximately, it's maybe not exact, it may be 60%, it may be 55%. But what I'm trying to say is it's a majority of the country. I'm just going with 63% for this particular video. 63% of that country says, you know what, the government's fucked up, so we don't really care at the end of the day. We have no dog in the fight. But you have about 10% undecided. 10% that's like, I don't know right now. I'm not biased one way or the other. I consider myself an independent, and you just push that camp into the fucking Republicans. So now you have 2%, and whenever it was 27% overall, 25% MAGA, 2% liberal Democrat, or whatever the fuck they call themselves these days. It wasn't a big problem, and for me, it's still not a big problem. I don't care. But with that being said, now you've pushed MAGA into Nazi numbers, because now you pushed that 10% to say, you know what, fuck it, these motherfuckers are running kangaroo courts, and now MAGA is an issue, because you pushed that 10% with that 25%. So there's no way in fucking hell that the Democrats are going to be able to remotely even be competitive. This is going to even look worse than Ronald Reagan. So, as I said, right? You have 2% of the population. There was already really limited chance that you were going to win. I gave you the states, though. I thought, you know what? Believably, they're going to win these states. And these states were going to be California, Oregon, Washington, and as I said before, Washington was already on the cusp of flipping. I was going to give them, I think, Minnesota, and Minnesota's on the cusp of flipping. And I was going to give them Illinois. However, with this being said, and there's a couple of, in all these little states I was going to give them. That being said, I'm going to go ahead and say this is no longer the option. I'll be actually honest with you. California could flip. Oregon could flip. Washington most likely will flip. You know what I'm saying? Minnesota will definitely flip. And Illinois will flip. And so what we're seeing here is you're going to see all these states follow suit. Especially these states. They're going to flip. If California flips, it's over. That's it. It's done. But, like I said, California is going to be one of the last states called. But you're going to definitely know if California is going to flip probably before the end of the night. So we can go ahead and give Trump all of these states because he wins them all the time. There's no way that Biden is going to win Texas. It's just not going to happen. I don't give a shit what the fucking Californians will tell you. They're all moving here anyways. So now we're going to go down here, and I'm going to, say that this is the way it's going to look. Because I don't think that there's any way that the media is going to be able to spin it. They're not going to be able to do another shutdown. And if they do, they're taking their chances. Like the State Department's taking their chances. And once these people get pissed and it becomes lynch mob justice, there's no turning that shit off. I'm just going to let you know right now. And so, when we look at this, and, I'll be honest with you, I don't even know how well Biden is doing in his own state. I believe that his own state may be embarrassed to vote for him. And so, because we're not looking at like a Mondale or a Jimmy Carter or anything, you know what I'm saying? He's not a great leader. And so, what you're probably going to end up seeing is it's going to be, everybody's going to make it seem close, and they're talking about, for my margin, and I'll go, I'll go ahead and wait and say this for the end. But, from my guesstimate of where the true numbers of the country are. And now I'm going to go ahead and give Biden DC for sure, because he's going to win DC. And then I'll go ahead, and I don't want to give him Vermont, but I'll give him Vermont just because it's his home state. And, I'm trying to be nice here, as nice as I can. And so, all of these, this is what it's going to probably end up being. It's probably going to end up being 532 to 6. And from what I see right now, and this is in reality, and this is going off the any kind of algorithms that I can find, is that you're looking at about 116 million people that are probably, and it was about 80 million. Whenever Trump ran, it was about 80 million. I could account for 80 million votes for Trump. I couldn't account that for Biden. I can only count for about anywhere from 25 to 33 million for Biden. Hillary probably got less, and that's probably why the fucking left has been so ferocious in the mainstream media. But I can reasonably look at about 116 million for Trump right now, and I only see about like 6 to 7 million for Biden, probably less than 10 million right now for the whole country. And this is what I'm basing it on. I'm basing it on algorithms and shit. Nobody's excited for Joe Biden. When they have to go out and pay like $3.50, $4 for gas, and that's here. I don't know where it is everywhere else. Whenever people are having to pay more for groceries, that means a hell of a lot more than your little fucking Roe v. Wade. It does. And, the Democrats are single-issued voters. They'll claim everybody else is a single-issue voter, and they'll talk about all these plans of having universal health care and their Build Back Better programs and feeding the poor and trying to guilt trip in, because that's all the Democrats can do is guilt trip people in to voting for them. They're almost like e-begging. And it's not working anymore because your media doesn't have any kind of real influence. If Trump goes on Tim Pool's show and Tim Pool gets in an audience, right, more people are going to be apt to see Donald Trump on Tim Pool rather than watching him in one of these generic ass, media interviews where they're talking about white supremacy, they're talking about climate change, they're talking about gun violence, shit that's fiction and doesn't matter to anybody in their day-to-day lives. Personally, to me, the Tim Pool interview was shit. From what I seen of it, it was absolutely horse shit, and it was fucking softball questions. However, with that being said, they can be more emboldened because these new internet influencers are coming in and replacing the mainstream media. Seeing a Ted Cruz interview on Steven Crowder, more people are going to like that than having somebody fucking see an advertisement of you on a YouTube video. It's probably better because that gets to the people who are going to vote for you. Motherfuckers that are trying to watch a YouTube video, if they're trying to watch a comic book video, they're not going to give a fuck about seeing your commercial. and they consider that as a fucking nuisance, and they're just waiting because they don't care about your fucking causes, because everything that you have is a goddamn wedge issue. The motherfucker playing Pretendo, trying to learn how to beat a level and following some gaming channel, doesn't give a fuck about some fucking women's health care and a woman's right to choose with Roe v. Wade. So let stupid ass Colin Allred stick his big ass head in these fucking videos, and I guarantee you, the people are not going to turn out and vote for him. If anything, they're going to vote against him. It works out against him. But if you do an interview and it goes pretty well on, say, with Salty Cracker or with Anthony Brian Logan now, and I'm not, like I said, I watch Salty Cracker every once in a while. I like Hard Bastard the best, but I haven't even watched that because the shit's, been the same. It's gotten stagnant to a degree, so I'm watching the same old shit, and it just gets old after a while, and you want to change. You know what I'm saying? It's one of them things you can only watch for so long, and then you've got to tune out. And so that's kind of like where I am right now with YouTube as a whole. We're not getting any kind of new content because you really kind of marginalize the people who can participate on these platforms. So, but with that being said, if you're on these podcasts and I see Hard Bastard, say, drop a video where he's interviewing Ted Cruz and asking Ted Cruz questions and whatnot, I'm more apt to go ahead and watch that interview than I am to watch a CNN or MSNBC interview or care about your little issue that you have on a damn YouTube commercial. You're actually hurting yourself these days. You can't run the same kind of political campaigns as you did back in the 90s, as you did back in the 2000s, and even as you did, 8 years ago. It just doesn't work the same. You know what I'm saying? Society has kind of went on, and it's moved on from the days that we were having the culture war here on the internet. These guys are a bunch of shills. They're paid commentators here that, act as gatekeepers and commentators. And really, at the end of the day, it's hard to get interest in these people. I myself, it's hard for me to watch it, and I've tried to invest in it. I've tried to like it. I just can't. And especially whenever I see a commercial, that's it. I'm already done with your channel, pretty much. Not everybody, but for the most part, whenever I see a fucking commercial, I'm like, yeah, I'm done with the video, and then I turn it off and I watch something else. I'd rather, if I'm gonna see commercials and shit, I'd rather watch a movie or something that's gonna be more entertaining, not somebody's political commentary. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, if you don't, if your views are like they are right now, I just don't see the point in monetizing a lot of the shit that's out there right now. So, this is where it's at right now. Like I said, the Democrat Party is probably at like 6 million. The MAGA movement is at 116 million. And a majority of the population doesn't care. They have no dog in the fight. And, whatever the MAGA movement does, you know what? It's not like it wasn't justified. You know what I'm saying? The left has made a mess of this country. So the policies that the MAGA movement's going to do, which is like your Project 2025 and your Agenda 47, it's, you don't have anybody to blame but yourself. I'm not voting. I'm not voting this year. I don't care. You've been trying to get that Trans-Pacific Partnership? Well, you're about to get it. It's just going to be a different ruling class with those policies. It's not going to be your socialist class. It's not going to be your weak communist class. All right? It's not going to be your government class. It's going to be a whole different kind of class running the operations day to day. Like I said, I don't care. I don't care. It's over with. As far as I'm concerned, I'm done. I do these videos for posterity purposes so you can understand whenever the shit comes about. Nobody ever told me this. No, I'm telling you right now. I don't care. But this is where we're at right now. You're probably looking at a Trump ass whooping with the Republicans coming in, taking over the House and the Congress, and just going ahead and thoroughly getting rid of get rid of the National Defense Authorization Act. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter. You start cutting these State Department programs. Particularly, first one you should cut is the Department of Education. You know what I'm saying? Cut all of them. It doesn't matter to me right now. I don't care. Because they're not doing their job. I can't defend them. I can't defend any of them right now. And the sheer fact is that you've had people here on YouTube that would say, hey, you know what? We had solutions. We could fix your universal health care. We can fix your, before it turned into this hyperinflation, we had alternatives to go ahead and fix our economy. But you went ahead and ran a lot of us off. You didn't want anybody coming in and solving any of these problems because you thought you were going to go ahead and market off these problems forever. Well, somebody else is going to market off the problems, and you know what? I just see it as free labor, you know. Put these people in indentured servitude. You know, go ahead, do it. Like I said, you know, it doesn't matter to me. But the Democrat Party is essentially dead. It's never, there's never going to be anybody that's going to come in and accumulate any kind of real trust. Actually, it was probably dead in the 70s. They did a lot of fucking finagling to get Clinton in. You know, it just wasn't willy-nilly Bill Clinton got in. There was 3 candidates, and one of them was a very polarizing candidate in Ross Perot. They had to run Barack Obama in 2008 just to go ahead and win a popular vote so they can go ahead and lay claim to being the Democrat Party. But after Obama, the party essentially is all but dead. I mean, you know, I don't see how anybody could vote for the party anymore. No real trust in it. And I don't see, do you see anybody that they're gonna put in that's gonna be respectable enough to vote for legitimately after the Biden operation that happened here? The fucking rigging to get Joe Biden in. You've ran 2 horrible garbage ass candidates in Hillary Clinton. Well, actually 3. You just got one of them in office, and the other 2 you couldn't get into office because of all the shit legislation that you passed. And do you see anybody else coming back in to resurrect this party? You think fucking that Eddie Haskell looking motherfucker in California, Gavin Newsom, is going to resurrect this party? He may lose his fucking state. It's a very real possibility. You know, there's many Californians are moving here. We can tell that they don't like your shit going on in California, otherwise they wouldn't be moving here. And I'm hearing people moving whole fucking industries over here from California. I'm hearing that every day. So, anyways, I figured I would go into this video. I do believe that this is, you know, this is quite a real world possibility. The left will go ahead and debunk it, and they'll try and make it seem, but we already know that the left is not credible. They're not going to tell you. They're not going to have any intellectual honesty anywhere on the fucking left. And so, you know, I believe that this is a real world possibility after the and the reason why I say this is because that the motherfuckers that are voting are the only ones that are going to be invested in that news, which is not a lot of people. It's about, like I said, altogether right now it's about maybe 27-28% of the country. But it's that 10% that's going to, end up, going ahead and really determining taking that MAGA party from just the MAGA party into that, Nazi-esque type party of being an actual Reich. They still won't be the majority in this country. It still will be like a marginalized 30% of the country. But like I said, right now, there's nothing that the 63% of the country are not going to be interested in siding with a bunch of fucking commie-crats who absolutely destroyed the dollar, which really kind of amazes me how a lot of these motherfuckers come in, they jump on board, they say, oh yeah, I'm going to go ahead and shill myself out here on the internet and whatnot and try to cause all this bullshit for what? For $1? That they're going to collapse? You think that Bitcoin is going to be the wave of the future? I've got another thing for you. The Bitcoin is not going to be the mark of the beast, and it's not going to be the wave of the future. I'm going to let you know that right now. They may try to push it, but they're going to have to do something more practical, and it certainly isn't going to be a fucking Bitcoin, alright? That's not it. It's just not living up to that expectation. So why the fuck did you sell yourself out to go ahead and shill for the State Department if you knew that they were already collapsing the dollar, everything, all the shit that you have, that you own right now, it's going to be left up in the air. You know what I'm saying? Especially if they go ahead and fix this election. I guarantee you will own, the fucking elites will own nothing and like it. Because these motherfuckers are not going to have it anymore. And like I said, the world is on the cusp of, really, going through an event that's going to be of biblical proportions. This is why I say that I think that we're going into the sixth seal. When we talk about that wrath of God, the shaking of the earth and the oceans, which we know that the oceans represents Europe and the European Empire, the Holy Roman Empire, and the earth being the United States of America. All this shit is going to be shaken, and this means that the global fucking markets and economies are going to be shaken, where all these high elite, ruling class, generals, men, and all these, all their servants and followers and shit like the media go into the fucking mountains because they know that the wrath of God is upon them. Does this mean that this is actually the wrath of God event? I don't know. But I'm saying it's a very real world fucking possibility. Because as the United States goes, so goes the rest of the world. You know what I'm saying? If the United States collapses, the markets around the world will collapse that are attached to the United States, specifically in Europe, which means it's going to be a fucking free-for-all. It's not going to be like a civil war like they showed you in the fucking movie. It's going to be real-world shit. So, anyways, I figured I would go into this video, drop a video. I know that this is pretty fucking extreme. This is pretty extreme. But this is what I see. This is what I see going on right now, and I do believe that this is a real-world possibility. I know that the left is going to keep pounding it and pounding it. They're just essentially committing suicide, though. So you people tell me what you think. You like, sub, do the shit the internet tells me to do to get over. And for now, I'm out.